Remember that time in 2015 when BHP Billiton, a company so big it has two names, decided it wanted to eat Anglo, another mining giant, like a corporate python, unhinging its jaw for a particularly ambitious gazelle. It was a big deal, like could reshape the entire mining industry big. But guess what? It didn't happen. Anglo said thanks but no thanks, and BHP slunk off, presumably to lick its wounds and plot its next mega-merger. This wasn't just a juicy bit of corporate drama, though. It underlined something pretty important about the world we live in, a world where resources are finite, demand is skyrocketing, and the companies that dig stuff out of the ground wield enormous power. And you know what else? It's only going to get more intense from here on out. Look, we all love our gadgets, right? Smartphones, electric cars, those little robot vacuums that bump around your living room like confused puppies. But all that shiny tech needs raw materials. And where do those materials come from? You guessed it? Mining. We're talking copper, lithium, cobalt, nickel. The gang's all here. And the demand for these metals through the roof, which means mining companies are under pressure to dig more, dig faster, and dig everywhere they can. But here's the rub. Mining isn't exactly known for being environmentally friendly. It can lead to deforestation, habitat destruction and pollution. Plus, there are serious concerns about human rights abuses and exploitation in some mining operations. So, how do we balance our insatiable appetite for technology with the need to protect the planet and its people? Good question. On to the next section. Speaking of protecting the planet, let's talk about the big sweaty elephant in the room: climate change. Remember those wildfires, floods and heat waves we've been seeing more and more? Yeah, that's climate change saying hello. And guess what's a major contributor to climate change? Fossil fuels. And guess what mining companies extract from the ground? Bingo, fossil fuels. See where I'm going with this? Now, some mining companies are trying to clean up their act, investing in renewable energy and more sustainable practices. But let's be real, the industry as a whole has a long way to go. And the clock is ticking. We need to transition to a cleaner, greener future, and we need to do it yesterday. Section 4, Politics and Mining. It's complicated. Let's play a quick game of who's got the power. Is it governments with their fancy laws and regulations? Or is it multinational corporations with their deep pockets and global reach? When it comes to mining, the answer is, it's complicated. Governments want the revenue and jobs that mining can bring, but they also need to protect their citizens and the environment. Mining companies, on the other hand, want to maximize profits, sometimes at the expense of, well, everything else. This leads to a constant tug-of-war, with lobbyists swarming around politicians like moths to a very bright, very expensive light bulb. And let's not forget about the communities directly affected by mining. Indigenous communities, in particular, often bear the brunt of the negative impacts, from displacement from their lands to contamination of their water sources. Section 5, Tech in Mining, more than just fancy pickaxes. Remember those robot vacuums I mentioned earlier? Turns out the mining industry has robots too, and drones and sensors and all sorts of other high-tech gadgets that sound like they're straight out of a sci-fi movie. This technology has the potential to make mining safer, more efficient, and less environmentally damaging. For example, autonomous vehicles can transport ore without the need for human drivers, reducing the risk of accidents and carbon emissions. But here's the catch. This fancy tech is expensive, and it's not always accessible to smaller mining companies or developing countries. Plus, there are concerns about job displacement, as automation could replace human workers. So, while technology holds promise for a more sustainable mining industry, we need to make sure it's deployed responsibly and equitably. Section 6. What does this all mean? Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about corporate greed, environmental destruction, political maneuvering, and robot overlords. Okay, maybe not robot overlords, but you get the idea. So, what's the takeaway? The world is changing, and the way we extract and consume resources needs to change with it. We can't keep digging and burning like there's no tomorrow, because guess what? There might not be. But hey, don't despair. It's not all doom and gloom. We have the technology, the knowledge, and the power to create a more sustainable future. But we need to act now. Section 7, Your Move, World. This is the part where I give you a rousing call to action. Because guess what? You're not off the hook just because you watched a funny show about it. You, my friend, are part of the solution. So what can you do? Educate yourself about these issues, support companies that are committed to sustainability, contact your elected officials and demand change. And for the love of all that is good, please recycle. The future is not set in stone. It's up to us to shape it. So let's get to work. And remember, if a bunch of comedy writers can wrap their heads around these complex global challenges, so can you. Now go forth and be the change you want to see in the world.